Do you ever feel like you're doing everything right, but you're still running on empty?
The simple definition of stress is too many things to do and too little time or energy. And that's exactly what causes stress.
On this episode of Scale Smart, Grow Fast, we're digging into a challenge a lot of leaders face: stress, mental overload, and the loss of clarity that can slow down even the best operators. And that's why at Workergenix, we help business owners stay focused on what matters most with full-time ultimate executive assistants who bring consistent execution behind the scenes. So today I'm joined by Shalin Desai, who spent more than 25 years helping leaders build resilience, sharpen focus, and perform at a higher level through breathwork, meditation, and practical leadership skills. Let's get into it. So Shalin, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Adrian. Thanks for having me.
Now, I know you've spent depth of experience here helping people build this focus, resilience, and clarity. When you look at leaders today, what's the biggest thing that's draining their energy that they might not even realize?
The biggest thing I've seen is trying to do too many things at the same time. And as a leader, you have a lot of responsibilities, a lot is riding on you. And you're responsible for a lot of decisions you make. Not just it affects you, it affects a lot of people, the decisions you make. So there is inherent sense of feeling responsible and at the same time trying to do too many things. And I think that's where the stress kicks in. Simply put, the simple definition of stress is too many things to do and too little time or energy. And that's exactly what causes stress.
And as you say that, I'm thinking of like two aspects of this too many things to do. There's like the constant interruptions, right? And multitasking, and how now science shows how multitasking fails. And then the other thing you really like hit on is the sense of responsibility, and that load. It's not just a logistics thing. It's an emotional load of like your decisions have impact.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what it is. The decisions you make, it's just not affecting you, it's affecting so many other people. And so that kind of causes some stress or load, whatever you want to call it. And there's a healthier way of dealing with it.
I'm sure there is. We'll get into that. I know. So the thing is, if I was a business owner or an entrepreneur listening, I'd be like, the thing is, I'm always busy. I'm always having to I'm trying to get to the bottom of this to-do list, and I never, ever reach it. Why are people getting stuck in that cycle?
Yeah, that's where the meditation and the breath work is so important. Mahatma Gandhi used to say, he would say that today I'm so busy, I don't have time to meditate for 20 minutes. I have so much work to do. I have to meditate for 1 hour. So the more busy you are, the more crazy your schedule is, the more is the need to have this mindfulness, this breath work, the meditation is more is the need for that. And that's what I've seen. I've been traveling around, I've been teaching, I've taught the art of living, that's the organization part of the art of living workshops in around 64 cities around the country, working with leaders across the country. And that's what I found, that having these tools in your toolbox is become so handy, because at some point of time, it's not just the stress or the responsibility overload. What I've seen is that people keep being under that stress for so long, and after some time you even start having health concerns, because your body can only take so much for so long, and at some point of time you start seeing the cracks. You end up having anxiety, blood pressure, and whatnot. So it's not just you to become a better leader. I think for you to even become a better and healthier human being, these tools are very much needed.
I love everything you're sharing here. For our listeners who don't know, I started U.S. business owner, and over 2 years ago started traveling the world with our family. And I have told people it's almost like unbecoming in so many ways to disconnect from all of these systems that do cause this stress and everything like that, like exactly what you're saying, and realizing the power of things like meditation or these other practices. So I love this because I feel like I can personally see the difference in my life from doing things like this. Now, for our listeners who are like, I don't even know where to start, where do you recommend they start? What's one simple shift that can really help people get started and make a difference?
So a few things. I recommend taking a 3-day course. It start over 9 hours completely. You can go to the website Art of Living, beautiful name, artofliving.org. And the Art of Living Foundation is one of the world's largest volunteer-based organizations. We have programs in about 184 countries. So wherever you are, you can tap into that. And to begin with, you can also just go to YouTube and put Art of Living meditations. There are a bunch of guided meditations there. You can start even using that. And it's nowadays, meditation is no longer a luxury, it's a necessity. It's something that you have to have in your routine. It's like You brush your teeth every day. That is dental hygiene. You take shower. That is bodily hygiene. And this is the mental hygiene. And it's so
I love
important.
framing it
People
like that.
realize that. Yeah.
Yeah, very helpful. Now, can you share a story of a business owner or leader that made a meaningful change in their performance after they started focusing on this well-being and mental clarity?
Absolutely. I'll share an incident actually. I was teaching a course in New York at one of the largest banks in our country and a huge like I won't take the name, but big financial institution. And this we were doing this course for their executive leadership. And one of the participants who was on the course at the end of the 3-day workshop, she came to me and she's like, I want to share something very personal with you. I'm like, yes, please. And then she's like, last year has been so tough on me. I went through such a bad divorce and it just went for so long and it took such a big toll on me. And after I got done with it, I'm like, I need a break. So she's like, I booked a trip to Hawaii and a solo trip to Hawaii just to get a break and to clear my mind out and everything. And she was sharing that one day she was sitting in this beautiful beach on Kauai. She's like, it's such a pristine beach. And like I was watching the sunset and it was so beautiful. And then she was like, but Shalin, I was only able to enjoy that for 5 minutes. After that, my mind was again filled with the same thoughts of anger, anguish, worry, anxiety, and all that. And then she's like, that's when I realized that unless and until I take care of my mind, no matter how many comforts, what beautiful scenery I have in front of me, I cannot enjoy that. And she's sharing that after taking this Art of Living program. And she's like, yesterday I was driving home in a cab. And, this was about 10, 15 years ago. And she's like, I was driving and, New York people honk, it's chaotic and everything. And she's like, nothing bothered me. I was just calm and peaceful.
Mhm.
And she's like, that's when I realized that unless and until I take care of my mind, everything else is useful. And she's like, after taking this, I'm able to focus even much. I'm able to make my mind is becoming so more clear, so much clear. Even the decisions I'm making are much better now. So that's
Right.
what it is. It just affects all the aspects of life because even for leaders, it's very important to know it's not just that what you do professionally or in your business. It affects all the aspects of your life. At the end of the day, no matter how successful of a business person you are, you want to have a happy family life. You want to have a happy personal life, and both are intertwined. And these
Mhm.
tools help both the aspects of your life.
Yes. Reminds me of a couple things. One is I have seen that, like, Americans who are used to the hustle culture, who are used to, like, grind, 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 go on vacation and can't relax. It's the same thing,
Yeah.
and we've got a packet full of activities. We've gotta be, like, sightseeing all the time. We've gotta go do these guided tours, and once you unplug from that, you're like, "Dude, that's exhausting. Let's just relax."
Yeah. Exactly. That's what it is. I often joke with people that, after you come back from vacation, you need a day or two to recover from your vacation. It's like you
Mhm.
come back tired. And what if there was a vacation where you went and you came back so rejuvenated, so fresh? And that's what this breath work and everything does for you.
Right, yeah, I've seen the difference, like I said, in my own life with myself, my husband, our kids, doing some work like this and meditation work, and yeah, even with kids, you mentioned the family life, I've seen that difference for us too there. So, one challenge a lot of leaders face is, part of this process, I think, is recognizing what you really have to do and what you don't have to do. But the challenge leaders have is letting go of control. So, how do you help someone trust their team more without all the stress of like, I have to micromanage, I have to make those decisions?
That's a very good question. I see that so often. And what I've seen is that leaders are able to delegate work, but somehow they're not able to delegate the responsibility, the power. And it's very interesting, very interesting. This whole thing, what do you have to delegate so you can do more, you have to delegate. What I've observed is that people are able to delegate, but they're only able to delegate the work. But the decision making power, you're not able to delegate. And it's this fine balance of not just delegating work, but also delegating the power, the responsibility that comes along with it. And that just gives
Mhm,
you so much more freedom. And I've also found with people like the more trust you put in people, they actually perform better. And I've seen that with my inspiration is Gurudev. He's a founder of Art of Living Foundation, Gurudev Sri Ravi Shankar. He's a one renowned humanitarian and a peacemaker, and he's been, traveling around the globe, and his mission is to create a stress-free and a violence-free society. And what's really inspired me is his ability to trust people, like empower people and trust people. And I've seen that when you put that, I'm not saying blindly trust everyone, but when you put that faith and trust in people, they actually go out and perform really well.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that, yeah, that ability to let go, as you mentioned, has to come. And the more you're able to let go, the more empowerment happens actually.
It's a really good point, and it's almost like, it's tough because you have to do it with faith to see the results, right?
Yeah,
Well, once you do, then that starts the flywheel. Once you trust somebody and you have that successful experience, it becomes easier and easier to do it again and again.
exactly.
Now, let's say that we have a business owner and they have gone through the 3-day program from Art of Living and they're using these tools in their everyday life. What are the early signs that this person is starting to move from reactive mode into a more intentional and effective way of operating? How are they going to be able to see the difference?
The very first thing you'll see is a lot more mental clarity. Some of the best business leaders you see around the globe, they have such clarity. Even when they speak, it's so clear. They know exactly where they are, they know where they want to get, and they know how they're going to get there. So that clarity starts coming in, and that is a big deal. And then the other most important thing is your mind becomes more calm and more peaceful. What's the difference between reaction and response? In response, when you respond to something, you think and you act. In reaction, you act and then you think afterwards, what did I do? So it's like the difference, and that distinction comes when the mind is more calm, more peaceful, more at you're more at home wherever you are. Naturally, that better decision making happens, and those tools start kicking in after you start practicing right away from day one. It starts working.
That's awesome. It's awesome that it is so immediate and that that's really the foundation for everything, right? Like how you think about and respond to situations is the foundation for everything. So that one change can really have so much impact.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, I know that you talk a lot about purpose alongside performance, and we've talked about the art of living and the purpose and nonprofit. How do these two things connect for leaders who are in our conventional Western business world where we're focused on growth and results? How can that leader think about purpose alongside performance?
At the end of the day, any leader, you're doing what you're doing, you're making the sacrifices. I mean, all leaders, they make sacrifices. If you're not making sacrifices, you would not be a leader, actually. So they make sacrifices, and you're making those sacrifices because there's a purpose that you really believe in. There's something you're not, and that's one thing I've seen with the leaders also. It's, yes, you want to make more money, you want to make the business grow, but there's something more to it in it. There's a fire in the belly that, I want to do something, I want to achieve something. And that is what drives the leaders. And again, coming back to the, having a purpose and focusing on something much bigger. It's just if you start like, okay, I want to make this much money, and that's there, that, business has to make money. But then there's something more to it also that, I want to do so for the greater good. I want to do it because maybe I want to help the society, maybe I want to help my family. When there's a bigger purpose, something bigger, a bigger goal that is in mind, naturally you're more driven. And that
Yes,
comes again, I love watching football. I don't know if you, Adrian, if you watch football, but not the soccer, but the football. And some of the best quarterbacks you see in NFL are also the ones who can perform so calmly under so much pressure. That's such a beautiful ability to have as a leader. And coming back to this breathing exercises, that's what helped me when I started teaching all these things and started traveling and doing things. The breath work, in spite of my crazy schedule, hours and hours of traveling across different time zones and all, it gave me such calmness and so much energy that you're able to perform so much better. And it's at the end of the day, it's not just about working hard, it's working smart. And that's what it
If
is.
you're running a growing company and still handling too many operational details yourself, there's a better way forward. The Delegate or Die checklist shows you the exact tasks that drain leadership bandwidth and the simple changes that recover 15 to 30 plus hours a week. Download it free at workergenix.com/scale smart. Now let's get back to the episode.
I think you shared so many like gems in that. And, one of the things is people often feel like purpose is going to decrease their performance. And you point out the exact opposite, right? That when you've got this strong purpose, it's going to increase your performance because, as you said, it gives you that fire in the belly. And that then how powerful somebody can be when they stay calm. And then, yes, the breath work. It's so funny to me because we breathe all the time, right? It's
Yeah.
what are they, autonomic? And yet when you stop and you take an intentional big breath, how differently you feel and how much you can see the impact of that. And it's just so funny because you think you're breathing all the time, but it's different.
Exactly, that's true. And that's very, so I'm an engineer by profession, and I've been doing this for about 30 years now. I've been practicing the breath work for 30 years. And when I first started doing it, I'm like, it is working, but I don't know how it is working. I want to see the science behind it. So now, for the sky breathing that we teach in the art of living, we have about 100 independent studies that have happened on that. And one of the recent study that happened was at Yale University in Connecticut. And what they did was, they took a control group of students doing the sky breathing. Then they had a control group of students doing the mindfulness stuff. Then another control group of students doing Yale's own emotional intelligence program. And they found that the sky breathing was the best performing thing across all the markers. The stress hormone, the cortisol went down when you did the sky breathing. Your, oxytocin, dopamine, all the good hormones went up. The negative hormones went down, and just that started working from day one. And so there's a lot
Wow.
of science behind how this thing works, and that's what makes it even more credible, I believe.
Yes. It's interesting because you think, you were an engineer by training. My husband also is an engineer by training who's really, honestly, super diligent with breath work. And I think when you take these people who are really good at executing systems and you give them the system and they start to see the results of it, well, you don't traditionally think of like an engineer as somebody who's going to be into breath work and meditation and everything like
Yeah.
this. Honestly, they see the results and they become like great students and like users of the practice. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I always tell people, Adrian, I mean, not to be biased about engineers, but I'm like, smart people do these things. It
And I feel like you have to say that because in like US culture, sometimes we may associate this with like hippies from the 70s or something like this, right? And so you have to be like, no, this is like a scientific thing that, like you said, smart people do this and it makes a difference. And Fortune 500 CEOs are doing this and seeing the difference in their lives. I love that.
I'll share one more anecdote, Adrian. So I was teaching this course, the Art of Living program at one of the largest consulting firms in the world, largest, and they had their employee, training thing that they had in Dallas, and they had different workshops for their employees. And part of one of the workshops that was the Art of Living course that was being offered there. And every single person in the course was either Harvard, Stanford, MIT, Wharton graduate, super smart. They were in the late 20s. So it's not like they're the late 20s, early 30s, and these are like super high achievers and very smart, intelligent people and all. And when I was teaching the course, initially it was a bit interesting because they would challenge and they'll question everything I'll share with them. I'll ask them to do, they'll challenge and question everything. But on the last day, when the HR team, also the HR leadership came during the experience sharing and all, and they started sharing that, I won't take the name of the company, but like, you give us everything best, you give us the best salaries, we travel first class, we stay in the best hotels, I travel so much. And they're like, this is the first time you gave us the best training because these are the actual life skills that help us thrive in our careers.
Right.
So it's people are
Yeah.
recognizing this now.
Well, and I think when you shared that, the immediate thing I thought of is, and the company is going to benefit because people aren't going to get burned out and quit because that's what you see is so, so common these days.
Yes, exactly. And companies, I think now they're becoming more aware of this because they're realizing just that monetary incentives and other incentives will only get you so far, but you have to start giving this kind of tools to your employees to perform better.
So along those lines, let's say we've got a listener like the people who were in that course, right? Somebody who wants to scale successfully without burning themselves out. They should take the 3-day program, right? Are there any specific mindset shifts or any other recommendations you'd give to people who are like, how can I not burn out in my job?
One thing that I found best ever shared is breath work and meditation. Just start doing some of it every day. As I mentioned, like, we don't brush our teeth every day because, if you don't brush your teeth one day, something bad is going to happen. But when you start doing it every day, it prevents tooth decay and all those things. So a lot of these things are preventive. It's not like things have to break down and you have to learn something. You do it so you don't break down. So
Right. And we think about it for so many other things. Like with the breakdown terminology, I think of cars, right? And oil changes.
exactly.
And, nearly everybody goes and gets their car the oil change at, however many thousand miles your car needs it. And you don't think twice about it. And yet, how often are you doing that preventative mindset or preventative work for your mindset and mental clarity?
Exactly.
Awesome. Now, as we wrap up here, Shalin, you said you had an activity you wanted to do with me, correct?
Yes, there. I've been meditating for some time, and lately I've been initiated into this thing where I am able to do intuitive scanning, where I connect with people, and then I'm able to tell them a bit about their past, present, and future. And it's very beautiful. It's not like, oh, you're able to read people's minds or anything like that. It's more conducive to their personal growth. Anywhere they have any questions, they can ask. I'm able to answer those things. So we can do that exercise and see how that
Sure.
goes. Yes.
All
So
right.
I'll just close
Let's do
my
it.
eyes for a few seconds, Adrian, and then I'll share a few things, and you can ask me any questions you have. Adrian, along with all this, the stuff, that amazing stuff that you're doing with leadership and all, you're actually an amazingly doting mother. You're very good, like with what your kids do, what the kids want. You're very aligned with that. It's not like you're busy with what you're doing. You're very much involved. Is that true? Is that accurate?
Yes. Yeah, we typically homeschool. Right now, the kids are in a school program while we're here in Lima for a couple months, but typically we homeschool and the kids' interests are part of our lives. Like my youngest loves penguins, and we specifically go to places in our travels. We plan trips around seeing penguins because he loves penguins. So, yeah,
Yeah.
things like that.
You're very good. Like you're very much in tune with what your kids want. And not just that, you make sure that you be with them, you provide them what they want. And it's not in a way where sometimes parents can spoil kids with giving them everything they want. You have this very good balance where you provide them that's something that's going to help them when they grow up as kids with their education and everything. At the same time, you good at discipline also. Yeah, it's a very disciplined approach that you take with them. It's very nice.
That is true. Thank you.
Sure, sure. It was wonderful connecting. In fact, we even have our Art of Living programs in Lima, and yeah, we have local Peruvian teachers, Latin American teachers who teach the programs there. So I'll check it out.
Awesome.
Check out the website there.
Yeah, I'll go to the website for sure. So, okay, Shalin, for anybody who wants to learn more about your work or experience some of these practices for themselves, what's the best way to connect with you?
So they can ping me on my Instagram. I have a team who checks messages there and responds promptly. So they can ping me on my Instagram. My handle is my first name Shalin, last name Desai. So they can ping me on there. And also they can check out our website, artofliving.org, regardless of what part of world you're in, because I know your audiences are global. So regardless of what part of the world you are in, we have our programs there. You can go and check it out.
I love this. Well, thank you, Shalin, for such a great conversations. I think that one of the biggest takeaways is that better leadership doesn't always come from doing more. Sometimes it comes from creating the clarity, the focus, and the resilience to do the right things consistently by getting in that right headspace with things like meditation and breath work. Now, the challenge for many leaders is that even when they know what needs to happen, execution can still get buried under emails, follow-up scheduling, and everything else that competes for their attention. And that's why at Workergenix, we do provide ultimate executive assistants who help keep the wheels turning behind the scenes so leaders can stay focused on what matters most. If you'd like to learn more, head over to workergenix.com and then join me again next week for another episode of Scale Smart, Grow Fast.